This episode of MythBusters might best be described as high impact.
It'll be like blood now.
Adam and Jamie are hell-bent on busting 3 of the biggest real-life gun myths of all time. Slugs down sniper scopes.
It's either him or me.
I think that was the money shot.
Backwards bullets. And a Civil War legend that's never been proved.
Like this.
And it's hammer time for Tori, Grant, and Carrie. Could the simplest of all tools really explode in your hand?
It'll be like kablamo.
With danger at every turn, this test becomes a battle for survival. Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage. And Jamie Hyneman.
This is gonna kill you.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Joining them, Tori Belleci,
Very excited about this.
Carrie Byron,
Look, he cracked into his skull.
and Grant Imahara.
Don't say anything.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
After all the gun myths that we've tested, what could be left?
Well, actually, there are a number of myths, and they all involve making a nearly impossible shot.
Nearly impossible shot. All right, what's first?
I call this one the mystery of the backwards bullet.
Oh, I think I heard about this one. Supposedly there was a shootout in Seattle between some cops and a perpetrator, and the perpetrator's bullet was later found lodged backwards in the policeman's gun barrel, and that justified the shooting because it proved that the perpetrator was pointing his gun directly at the cop?
Well, close. Actually, it was in the cylinder. It was a revolver, but that's what the myth is, and I think we should test it.
All right.
Their best shot at success is to test this myth indoors with an old friend.
We're here to have a shootout.
Same sort of
Alan Normandy is one of South Frisco's finest,
one round 9mm pistol fired from an MP5.
and he's already guided the team through a dozen gunshot tests. Some of those gun myths came from the movies, but this one's from real life. It's something like firing a bullet down the barrel of another gun, which is why it ends up facing backwards. But in this case, a bullet fired by a criminal in Seattle is said to have scored a direct hit on the empty chamber of a police revolver.
You've heard of it then?
Yeah, I have actually. Just recently, we were doing some research on that. I'm actually very excited about this particular experiment.
They're firing the same types of guns used in the Seattle shootout. The suspect pulled a pistol on 2 officers. Then they drew their .38 Colt revolvers.
Of course, we'd love to reenact this shootout by Adam and I, like facing off and seeing what happens, but that'd be kind of stupid because one of us would get badly hurt. So what we've done is we set up a rig. We've got a board that will line these 2 guns up at a precise distance. We've got a way of aiming them precisely, including some laser sights. And we've got special made holders for the guns that we'll be able to hook a string onto and fire the guns safely and remotely from the other side of the range.
The shooting gun is a Glock. The receiving gun is a Colt Police Positive .38 Special. And we've got it mounted here into basically a clamp that won't allow this gun to move. Glock's mounted in the same thing. It should just be a matter of sighting these up, firing them, and seeing what the result is.
To replicate this 1 in a million shot, they're fitting a laser sight inside the Glock's barrel to line up on the empty chamber. But bullets don't fly as straight as a laser beam, so Alan suggests a target test to calibrate the trajectory.
Turns out the bullets don't always leave the barrel of a gun and stay on perfect columnar center of that barrel. That's something I had no idea about. Look, I mean, all these things are 1,000,000-to-1 shots, which means that getting it is exceedingly difficult and requires a really high degree of precision.
The laser is aimed at the heart of the bullseye, and Alan's betting none of the test shots will hit the mark, even from a range of just 5 feet.
Fire in the hole, prepare to fire. All right, firing in 3, 2, 1. The first bullet went through the top hole, and the second and third bullets both went through this bottom hole.
Right.
So do we just split the difference between them?
Absolutely.
3 more shots should help refine the aim.
That group looks nice and tight. It is a little bit right of where the laser sight was.
We need to make one little final tweak of an adjustment, and I think we're in.
The Seattle backwards bullet became instant firearms folklore. Reports of the incident were widespread, but you can't believe everything you read in the papers. So Adam and Jamie are set to look this myth straight down the barrel.
We've got our Glock aimed down at the 38 Special, right down the cylinder. It's all been aimed up, and it should it should work. Our goal here is to end up with a backwards bullet lodged in the cylinder of the 38 Special.
This is one of those things that's probably harder than it might seem. I mean, we're pretty much point blank range, but there's no room for error here.
Test number 1, hopefully the only test. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Oh. Is that as bad as I think it is?
Maybe not, but it seems the sight correction was a touch off beam.
Well, there's no bullet in any of the cylinders or any of the chambers.
No, although this thing is damn hot. Although
No,
that's
it's from
probably
the
from the
lights.
lights.
My first thought is maybe the bullet bounced out of there.
Certainly possible. I'd like to see what the high speed says.
The high-speed camera shows the bullet did hit the gun, but just missed the chamber.
It's high.
It's way high. Look at it. It's
Look at
just
the flame.
splattering. Pieces coming out of the back even. That is crazy. All right, well, all I think is that we should re-aim and try again.
Yeah.
I agree.
After all this effort, it's definitely worth another try.
Fire in the hole. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Hey!
That looks a little better.
That looks a lot better. I'm provisionally excited.
One minute adjustment, and the bullet is all over that chamber. Though you really can't call it a bullet anymore.
Nothing but little pieces there. The bullet did go into the chamber, but it's not left there as a chunk of a bullet. And that may just be the way that it works.
I think we ought to try it again. I'm just not sure from this distance that bullet's going to be anything but munged like scrap by the time it hits this gun.
They try again,
Firing in 3, 2, 1.
and again, with similar results. Anything short of a perfect entry disintegrates the bullet. And a chamber half full of metal mush won't confirm the myth.
I should know. When I'm heading out for a day of shooting and I think this is going to be easy, we've got laser sights. Everything requires some fussing and fudging, and even something as powerful as a handgun, it requires some finesse to make sure you know where it's going to shoot, even from 5 feet away. I didn't expect that.
It's a tougher shot than anyone imagined, and one of the reasons is all too obvious. The 9mm bullet is slightly bigger than the .38 caliber chamber.
First of all, the bullet is larger than the cylinder bore, which means when it's hitting, parts of the bullets are stripping off. But on the high speed, it just looks like the bullet's disintegrating into just powder, practically.
Well, it's a little frustrating at this point. We keep lining it up dead on with lasers and very carefully finessing it into position. And these guns just aren't designed for that. They're designed to hit relatively large, meaty objects, and they're not designed to go down a tiny hole.
All right, so this next myth actually comes from a viewer complaint. A lot of people feel that Jamie is using hammers unsafely. A lot of people feel that when he's shaping metal with two hammers like that, they feel like there's a potential to crack the heads or even explode the heads.
Well, this seems easy enough. Why don't we just bang them together and find out what happens?
Well, if it's really as lethal as the fans say, I think that could be a little dangerous.
Now, hammers aren't normally sold with instructions, but some do have warnings that give this myth plenty of street cred.
Never strike the tool with or against another striking tool, hardened nail, or other hard objects, as chipping can occur, possibly resulting in eye or other injury.
But is this tall tool tail really a serious threat to life and limb? So far, it's done Jamie no harm, but maybe that's why he wears the hat. Time to consult an honest-to-God, old-fashioned blacksmith. Scott Thomas doesn't just use hammers, he makes them.
Have you heard that slamming two hammers into each other is dangerous?
It can be bad, generally because the hammers are both made out of hardened steel, and when you strike two pieces of hardened steel together, something's going to give, and you're usually going to get chips, or one might even break or fracture on you.
Straight from the horse's mouth, or at least the guy who makes their shoes. Scott thinks testing this myth will be risky business, so Tori's designed a, what do you know, hammer-smashing robot.
What I'm gonna build, it's just, it'll be like a little triangle frame with two arms, and the arms will be on two axes, kind of like this, so that when they both reach the bottom, the two hammer heads will strike against each other. We're probably gonna have to use some pneumatic actuators just to get the kind of speeds that we want.
Actuators are simply devices that make something move. These rotary models use compressed air to rotate at high speed through 90 degrees. They should give the robot arms the mechanical muscle needed to simulate a swinging human arm.
All right, so I have my arms made. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put them in two pillow blocks, and this way it'll allow a smooth swinging action for the two arms to come crashing together. It's ironic how I'm using a hammer to make this, and this is gonna be the same thing that destroys the hammer.
It'll be like kablamo. It'll be like blood-ow.
Well, let's just wait and see. Tori sets up in the blast chamber, and for the first test, he's fitting brand new wooden-handled claw hammers.
We have two hammers set up on the rig that Tori built with the pneumatics that Grant has added. They're basically just going to come together at a very high velocity, which we will measure with our scale and our high-speed camera.
Okay, here we go in 3, 2, 1. What happened? It broke both handles.
The speed was fast, around 16 meters per second from each arm. But the timber handles took all the impact. Still, some hammers are tougher than others.
These are double-tempered, steel-handled, unbreakable under normal conditions.
Okay, these are far from normal conditions, but that's the point. These toughened steel handles should at least put the pressure back on the hammerheads.
After seeing the force that these hammers came at each other with and checking out the high speed, I think that with the new steel handles that won't have this sort of weakness, we might have the possibility of getting some shrapnel.
All right, we ready?
Yeah!
Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Very bendy, Gumby hammer happening.
Whoa. This space right here has a dent, but that's about the worst off.
No shrapnel?
There's no chipping, it's just denting.
It's all intact.
Well, there's your two basic hammer types, bashed and bent, and still no blinding shards of steel. Perhaps they're just not hitting hard enough. Adam and Jamie are just as frustrated with their backwards bullet.
Is that as bad as I think it is?
They want to confirm the story that a criminal's bullet hit and lodged in the empty chamber of a police revolver. So far, the messy results don't quite match the myth.
Maybe the bullet bounced out of there.
After some tiny adjustments to the pitch of the guns, they stand back, block their ears, and give it their best shot.
Cylinder test number 5, trying to get a 1 in a million shot on the 5th try. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1.
The aim looks good, but they're chasing perfection. It's just a sliver straighter than the last shot, and that's all it takes. Incredibly, most of the bullet is still intact, and it's a very close match to the police photos.
There's a hell of a lot of shrapnel at the bottom of the very chamber we were shooting into. And if you look in this way, you can see the copper jacket. That's a bullet lodged wrong way in.
This is the ballistics equivalent of a hole-in-one.
Perfect. It's as perfect as we can possibly make it.
It's a tight fit, as no one knows better than Jamie. It takes him 15 minutes to prise the bullet loose from the chamber.
Wasn't much left of it. I had to saw and pry and finagle the thing out of the back of the gun. And a lot of it had actually gone into the cylinder and then kind of sprayed out the back in the gap between the cylinder and the rest of the gun. But it was an honest-to-goodness bullet, and it was in there.
It looks just like the picture that we had from the report we saw. It's perfect. I couldn't be happier.
I'm calling this one confirmed. It's totally possible that you can shoot your bullet down the cylinder of another person's gun.
I'm calling this one confirmed, 100%.
The humble hammer was almost certainly our first real tool. And where would slapstick be without it?
Oh, son of a gun.
But can bashing two together really send deadly shards of steel whizzing around the workplace? Some toolmakers take the myth seriously, but so far, Tori's hammer-smashing robot has barely made a dent.
Well, clearly we're not in any imminent danger based on these few tests here, so we're gonna step away from the robot and give it a crack ourselves.
Grant's concerned that the robot arms might simply be too slow to cause the fabled fracture. So with a high-speed camera and a calibration board, we'll soon find out who's fastest, man or machine.
Blow!
Tori thinks he'll drive the nail with one strike. But that was a tad optimistic.
I was just like inches away from hitting the nail.
Just inches? Inches?
I was just inches away.
Back to the plate, and it's swing and a miss.
You know,
Look, I hit the same spot as last time.
Why don't you put the nail there?
It's worth noting that a smart remark rarely goes unpunished.
Are you okay?
Oh, you missed the steel cap. You hit me on the side.
You guys might want to, like, not stand behind me.
The advice is well taken, and in due course, Tori finally hits the nail on the head.
where is it?
Yeah!
You got it?
One shot.
Well, at least we have plenty of information on his velocity, if not his accuracy.
High-speed replays clock Tori's mighty swing at 16 meters per second, which is no faster than the robot. So speed at impact clearly isn't the problem.
With our last round of human testing, we were successful in that we confirmed our robot is well in the realm of human capacity.
In a desperate effort to prove the legend of spurting shrapnel, they try again with two of Adam's old, pre-loved hammers.
Possibility that over time, the constant hitting of those hammers maybe tempers them in some way and makes them more brittle so that they might shatter.
This is Adam's old hammer versus Adam's old hammer.
Once again, no shards.
Looks like the handle's bent, but no shattering.
So what about a pair that spent a whole night in the freezer?
Well, these are our best quality hammers, kept overnight at minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can tell right here, closest that we've gotten to a chip, still no explosion.
Okay, so where to from here? Maybe Jamie has the answer.
Jay, we've been doing this all afternoon. We've been smacking hammers together. We haven't gotten anything more than like a little tiny spray of particle dust. And you're sort of the subject of this whole myth, and you're the reason that we're visiting it.
I think if a hammer head is really hard, like if it's like just super hard, it's going to be brittle. That you would do by getting the hammerhead really hot, like red or white hot, as hot as you can get it without melting it, and then quenching it in used motor oil, because it absorbs a lot of the excess carbon in there.
It's called case hardening, and here's why it could work. Steel is an alloy of iron and carbon. The more carbon you add to the mix, the more brittle the steel. So Tori taps into the nearest source of free carbon.
That's some dirty oil.
The used motor oil is full of carbon, which is introduced into the hot metal, and it's supposed to make this a much stronger hammer. But in taking away some of its softness, which absorbs shock, we are making it more brittle. At least, that's the idea.
And that calls for a down-home MythBusters style barbecue.
Who had the 20-ounce claw hammer? Medium? Okay, medium on this one.
Once the hammers are heated to a healthy red glow, they're all set to suck up the carbon from that second-hand motor oil. When they've cooked and cooled, we might just have the explosive hammers we've been looking for. Back at MythBusters HQ, Adam and Jamie are ready to test their next classic gun myth.
I've seen this in the movies. It's one sniper taking out another sniper. And the final thing is the guy who's about to be killed sees the first sniper in his eyepiece and gets shot right through his scope, through his eye, through his head. That's it?
That's it.
So what's the plan on the sniper scope?
Well, the first thing is I think we have to find a range to do this in, because I don't think it's fair to, use 10 feet or 20 feet on this deal.
We should have a nice long throw between these rifles. I agree, for accuracy. And I don't think that the insurance company is going to let you or I be the sniping victim in this. I think we should ask Grant if he's willing to do it.
Okay.
Sadly, Grant's too busy bashing hammers to accept the invitation, but he has offered his likeness in the name of science.
Well, the stuff that I'm making it out of is a ballistics media that's actually based on animal protein. So it's perfect for us in seeing a real damage assessment to muscle tissue. That's exactly what this equates to when it's dry, is muscle tissue.
Just like the backwards bullet, this myth wasn't invented by a scriptwriter. The legend stems from the Vietnam War, when a U.S. Marine sniper named Carlos Hathcock killed his VC counterpart with one shot straight down the scope. Jamie's first job is to track down a similar rifle.
This is a new gun that just came out. This is the actual 100% true copy of a Vietnam sniper rifle.
So, is that a good rifle?
Oh, man. You could hit a fly at 500 yards with this if you were a good sniper.
After buying the rifle, the budget stretches to 4 quality scopes. That means they'll have just 4 shots at busting this myth. All they need now is a victim, and Adam delivers a bouncing ballistics baby named Grant.
Beautiful. Look at that. That's great. This ought to be not so hard. Look at that. That's easy. I can do that with a piece of baling wire.
Always a bear for detail, Adam hitches a lift to raid Jamie's wig wardrobe.
That's it.
Now at least we'll have a snappy sniper. A little cosmetic surgery to accommodate the rifle rig, and they're ready to go.
I guess we're all set. Let's go do some sharpshooting.
We're ready to load up.
Jamie and Adam have brought their 2 sniper rifles and a rubbery likeness of Grant to a local rifle range.
There's our sniper.
They want to see if one sniper could kill another by shooting a bullet straight down the enemy scope.
I look forward to seeing if we can make that shot. What is it from here to the end of the range?
It's 100 yards, which for a sniper or a precision marksman is not really that far. But the math at 100 yards is perfect for us, because the calculations are 1 inch at 100 yards is 1 minute of angle. And what we're trying to do today is to shoot into a 1-inch scope tube. So that should be just perfect.
So you think this is totally possible?
Apparently back in World War II, when marksmen were first used for this type of activity, they were trained to aim at the glint of the opponent's scope. So in bright sunlight, they saw a little reflection to aim at that glint. And that's why there's really potential for this myth to be seen today. I think we can knock this out today.
But Jamie has his doubts.
For this myth to be true, not only do we have to hit a small target at some distance, I mean, we know that we'll be able to do that sooner or later. The question is, what will happen to that bullet when it hits the scope? Is it actually going to penetrate all the way through and hit the other sniper in the eye, or is the scope going to serve as some sort of a shield?
Jamie's worried about the half dozen or so glass lenses inside the scope. They're not especially robust, but any one of them could still deflect a speeding bullet and stop it from bursting out the other end. Once again, Alan needs to sight in the rifle by taking test shots at a target.
Well, here's the center of the group, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to move it one click left and one click down, and that's it. Once we know that it's reasonably centered in that fashion, you guys can start shooting.
Now's the chance for Adam and Jamie to get their fingers on the trigger.
Good job, young man.
Yeah, good shooting there, Tex.
Those 3 cracking shots won't just help sight the gun, they could also determine who gets to play sniper. If Jamie's aim is just a little off, Adam's our starting shooter.
There's a myth that I'm looking to bust today, which is that somehow Jamie is an incredible shot and I'm a terrible shot. It's not that I feel competitive, just, you know, I happen to be a myth buster.
Bullseye, right down the middle. Perfect shot.
Jamie's grouping is close to perfect, but then Adam's effort wasn't exactly scattershot. There can only be one fair decision. They both get to shoot Grant.
I think it's time to set up our sniper target.
I think it's time to set up our sniper target as well.
This might be a good time for Grant's mom to turn off the TV. Our floppy facsimile is carefully positioned behind his rifle out at the 100-yard mark.
Heads.
Tails. Jamie goes first.
Jamie wins the coin toss and the right to shoot first.
I don't know whether I'm going to hit the guy behind the scope or not, but I'm going to pretend it's either him or me.
We want to hit smack dab in the middle because we want that bullet to go all the way through the scope and into our sniper.
Confidence is high that this myth could be proved with a one-hit wonder, and there's no doubt that Jamie's got his eye in.
I think that was the money shot.
It's a direct hit from a distance of 100 yards. The scope is history, but gunman Grant lives to snipe another day.
It didn't make it through to his eye. It didn't even make it to the back of the scope.
I dare say this guy would be kind of upset, but his eye is still intact, and the scope acted effectively as a shield.
It looks like Jamie's fears were well-founded. The optic elements jammed the bullet, but with 3 more scopes to destroy, they can still turn this myth around.
Well, it's up to Adam to see whether he can best this shot, and that's going to be a pretty tall task.
The fate of the squad rests with Sergeant Savage.
I'm happy with that shot. Let's see how it is.
It's another clean hit, unleashing a river of pulverized glass. But it's Adam who's truly shattered.
Doesn't look like I made it.
No, similar deal.
No, it doesn't even look like it made it as far. Look, we have 2 hits, neither of them are kill shots, but there's no reason to call this one busted yet. Jamie or I have been firing sniper rifles for all of 4 hours. I think it might be time to bring in our ringer and ask Sergeant Normandy to take the shot for us.
They're hoping for one expert shot that hits and shatters those lenses dead level, dead center with no deflection. So a new scope is fitted, and the master marksman takes aim.
I don't think I got it.
In fact, he did get it. But once again, the bullet stopped short of ruining Grant's good looks.
No, didn't make it through the back. It's the same deal as before.
Yeah, I don't see a hole all the way through. I see everything collapsed inside.
Yeah, look, I think this just, I mean, to me, this just keeps on explaining that it's not about marksmanship, it's about a ridiculously lucky shot. It's not plus or minus.
It's like threading a needle.
A half inch. Yeah, it's like threading a needle from 300 feet away.
There's only one scope left, so they decide to stack the odds and make this last test up close and lethal.
What we're doing now is we're setting up a point-blank shot so that there's no kind of trajectory involved. We've determined that the power of the bullet, the difference from the distance is negligible. So if this doesn't do it, then we'll be able to say something definitive about whether the myth is possible or not.
It's literally their last shot at this myth, and Alan has the honors.
1, 2, 3.
The impact is strong enough to knock the scope from the rifle. It's a fitting end to a myth that's been all but blown away.
Oh, man. Looks like the same as the others from 100 yards.
It's deflecting off the convex lens.
Exactly the same deal. I gotta say, I thought this one was totally plausible, but
How far to get down? Sure. Knocked out everything in the center.
I just don't think it's possible for a bullet to make it all the way through this scope. This isn't a 1-inch diameter tube. With the aiming reticule and the glass elements in there, it's like a 1/2-inch diameter tube. It's harder than shooting down the barrel of another gun because there's a whole bunch of crap in the way.
But Jamie can still see the point of aiming straight down the scope.
If you're a sniper and you're looking down the barrel of another sniper's gun and you see this glint, I'd take the shot. First off, you're gonna ruin the guy's scope and he's not gonna be able to shoot back very accurately. Secondly, you're probably gonna make him clear out of there. He's not gonna be a very happy camper. And then thirdly, I mean, if you miss, you're gonna hit his head.
It's a 1 in a billion shot. He might have been the best marksman in the world and might have never made that shot. If the sun and moon and stars aligned and maybe one of the lenses was weak and maybe the sniper had removed an element because he had some better focusing thing, maybe then the bullet could have gone through. We don't have the scope that Gunny Hathcock shot at, so we can't know for sure. I say we have to call this myth busted.
Tori, Grant, and Carrie are testing the myth that smashing hammers together could be extremely bad for your health. So far, they've hardly scratched the surface, but according to Jamie, high heat followed by a carbon-rich oil bath should make the steel much more brittle and much more flammable.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. Didn't expect that.
I didn't either.
More steel and more flames. This backyard Barbie is getting way out of control.
You're spilling it on the wood pallet. I'm getting a fire extinguisher.
The extinguisher works briefly, but it's no match for flaming oil.
Everything's under control.
That always sounds so easy in those do-it-yourself manuals.
This case-hardened, solid steel hammer is ready to be put to the sword. And this time, they've decided to crash it into something that's guaranteed not to bend or break.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna put to rest one of these arms. We're just gonna have the hammers crash into the anvil.
So we are moving on to a test that possibly could be the grand finale. This could be the shattering hammer that we've been waiting so patiently for.
Systems armed and now. Just gotta limbo my way out.
All right, so this is the final test. Hardened hammer against anvil in 3, 2, 1.
The result is totally unexpected. The carbon-soaked head failed to shatter, but the softer shaft has a serious case of the bends.
That was the part that wasn't hardened.
That's true, that's the part that wasn't hardened.
Dang! Yeah, that was the part that wasn't hardened. That's pretty cool.
This here is our case hardened hammer, which we did on our last test. Now, The hammer's so hard, and this is so soft, that the neck completely bent.
Those flying fragments are just flaky residue from the barbecue. The head itself is completely undamaged. Conclusion, it's never wise to bang two good tools together, but the chances of a hardware store hammer exploding are virtually zero.
All right, so are we in agreement? Hammer versus hammer, busted?
Yeah, it's busted.
Totally busted.
Jamie and Adam have already proved that a fired bullet could end up in another gun's empty chamber. As for killing the enemy by shooting down his sniper scope, well, Grant survived without a scratch. But this last gun myth might be the toughest test of all.
Now, I've got one that I've been wanting to try about two Civil War soldiers who fired at each other and their bullets fused together in midair and dropped to the ground below where they hit.
It sounds like a classic myth. It also sounds like one that might be a little trickier than we think to pull it off. I mean, they're going to want to go and every place but like that.
This is definitely a 1 in a million shot, but we got to try this one. It's one of my favorites.
One famous fused bullet myth became folklore at the Battle of Fredericksburg in 1862. These primitive rifles shot rounds called mini balls, slightly pointed 58 caliber slugs of solid lead. They're softer and slower than modern bullets, so theoretically they could fuse together.
This is what one looks like. This is the mold for one. This is the fire, the crucible, and the pouring spoon. I'm sure there are other names for some of these things. And I'm going to try and make as many as I can.
The recipe is simple. Melt some lead pellets, pour the liquid into the mold, and then cool it.
Now that is perfect.
Meantime, Jamie sourced two near-perfect replica rifles to fire those mini balls.
What we're going to do is take these rifles and put them in our bunker at opposite ends. We'll probably screw them down onto a table and we'll line them up with laser sights. We'll use the adjustable qualities of these clamps to precisely dial them in, and we're good to go.
But this is shaping up as one very tricky test. These rifles need to be fully adjustable for fine-tuning. But once they're set, they can't move a fraction of an inch.
I've got an idea which I think you're gonna like. You know your really, really huge hockey puck magnets of death?
How could anyone forget? Jamie used his mega magnets to climb up the inside of a metal duct.
Thor, the god of thunder, is trying to enter my building.
And they could make or break this rifle rig.
These magnets are like the most diabolical things you've ever seen. They're like straight out of a science fiction movie, except they're real. And on a side note, they actually provide us a lot of the adjustability we'd be looking for. I mean, these guns aren't going to go anywhere with two of these magnets on them.
Mounting the magnets to the frame involves a fair degree of strength and patience.
There you go.
But the key to testing this myth is timing. Two actuators linked up to digital timers should ensure a simultaneous trigger, but that's no guarantee of success.
We've got a hammer that hits a cap that ignites the powder that sets the bullet off on its path. One bullet could be packed a little tighter. One bullet could have a little more wadding. One black powder might have a drop of someone's sweat in it. One cap, I don't even know what the manufacturing standards on these caps are. All these factors could really get in our way of being able to get these bullets to fire simultaneously and hit in midair.
So if two bullets collide in midair, could they really fuse together? Some say it happened for real in the US Civil War, but of course, there's no one around to verify that.
So what do you got there, little buddy?
I have a letter from the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, and they have said, "Dear Mythbusters, enclosed is a disc with photos of the mini balls from the opposing sides that met head-on during the Battle of Fredericksburg in December 1862. According to the donor, they were found by his father shortly after the battle, and he donated them to the Smithsonian in 1906, and here is a photo. Check that out. Now, that looks to me like, I mean, it looks the part of what I'd expect to see, but I'm still pretty dubious about it.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be anything. I'll believe it when we do it ourselves.
They're setting the guns just 6 feet apart, hoping the laser sights ensure a hit. In case the aim is askew, they've fitted circular collars to the end of both barrels to limit the damage to the rest of the gun.
In order to align the two barrels directly down each other's throat, we've got these, which are in-barrel laser sights. Basically, I put this in the barrel and I screw it in, and it pulls this little thing down, expands this collet to fit the barrel, and then I know that this laser is dead center of the barrel, pointing exactly where that barrel's going to shoot. Line both of these up across the same center, and we should get 2 bullets meeting.
But the biggest concern is timing. Jamie's actuators are precise to the millisecond, but 19th century firing caps and gunpowder aren't so reliable. So Adam's running a test with a slab of bulletproof plastic to see if both rifles fire in perfect unison.
The point of this is that if everything hits at the same time, then we're golden. We just leave everything set and we go for the real test. If we see that, say, one bullet is off to one side or one bullet hits before the other one, this will help us dial it in.
They fill each gun with exactly 80 grains of gunpowder, a standard charge in the 1860s.
All right, I'm just about to put the caps in. We should clear all non-essential personnel.
Okay, I'm out.
All right.
Okay, range is going hot. Clear the range.
3, 2, 1. I heard that bounce around. And I also heard that it wasn't quite exactly the same hit.
There's only one slug embedded in the plastic, and it takes a minute to figure things out.
No, that's the bullet from this side, because there's still a barrier.
Yeah, I think they both just kind of bounced off.
Yeah.
This one didn't quite bounce as far
Can
as
I-
the other one.
Hey, how good is the aim? It's perfect.
I can't tell, is it?
Yeah. That is very, very cool. Let's check out the high speed.
The high-speed camera confirms the theory. One bullet popped out the other because one gun fired a fraction of a second later.
Which means we now want to set this one to fire 62 milliseconds before that one.
Well, I've got it set for delay, so I'll delay that one 62 milliseconds.
Yes.
0.06 of a second might not sound much, but that tiny delay could be catastrophic in a real test.
That's way more time than it takes for one bullet to get from one gun to the other. So that would have been one bullet all the way down the barrel of the other gun.
Our biggest worry is that this black powder stuff is so unreliable, we may get some totally different result next time, but at least we're dialing in on it.
So Jamie dials in the timer with a slight delay. The guns are reloaded, and fresh caps are fitted.
3, 2, 1.
Now that was the right sound.
It was off, but it's a lot closer.
I couldn't tell you that I heard 2 distinct bangs, only one bullet falling.
I heard 2.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that bionic hearing.
This is one time Jamie would love to be proved wrong. Sadly, he's never been more right.
Now it looks like the opposite happened. That this gun fired first, and this gun's lead knocked the first gun right out of there. That is so cool.
The high-speed shots are crystal clear. The aim is still dead square. But these 2 slugs are a long way from meeting in the middle.
Oh, that is such a beautiful shot. Look at that. That was 30% closer than the other one, but in the other direction.
Yeah.
Which tells me we're dealing with a lot of inconsistency here. I think we're getting as close as we can possibly get, but I think from any shot to any other shot from the same rifle, you're going to deal with a difference in delay of, 20 to 80 milliseconds, and that's what's going to kill us in this.
Okay.
So let's just set up and do as many shots as we can.
Okay.
The odds against perfect synchronicity are enormous, the gunpowder is just too unreliable. So they might as well bite the bullet, lose the plastic, and do this test for real.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, collar got knocked off. That hammer's down. Interesting.
Test after test proves that timing is still the problem, and there's no way to fix it. One rifle always fires fractionally before the other, and they take turns jumping the gun. Any delay Jamie dials in is pure guesswork.
We can, in the high-speed camera, clearly see one bullet moving across frame, and then another bullet moving across frame in that kind of time period. So it's not like they're like this. They're kind of going.
We're not sure how to get there. These bullets are little rascals. They're like, you know, it's like herding cats. They're not behaving. So we need to come at it from a different angle, and I'm not sure what that is right now.
The solution might involve some lateral thinking.
Hey, Tori.
And there's no doubt that Adam's brain often works sideways.
This is perfect. I want to put a bullet in there, just hold it ever so lightly enough that it stays there and I can shoot it with another bullet. You guys use this for silver dollars,
silver dollars, right? Yeah, and that's what it was designed. So there's no resistance whatsoever.
Fantastic, that's perfect.
Tori once used this fancy frame to see if he could shoot a hole through a silver dollar. And it might just work now as a bullet holder. It's a legitimate way to test the myth. Remember, they're not out to see if two bullets could hit, but whether they'd fuse together.
It's basically just a tube with 3 long screws mounted in it that hold the bullet very gingerly. The thing that it does is holds it completely stationary, so we're guaranteed to hit it. If those bullets completely disintegrate and don't fuse at any speed, then this myth is busted. If we are able to get those bullets to fuse at some speed, well then, we're going to say it's plausible.
With one mini ball held fast in the frame, they compensate by cutting the charge to just 20 grains of gunpowder. It's a fairly realistic battlefield scenario, and their last chance to turn 2 bullets into 1.
Powder's in, bullets in, safety's on, target bullets in, lights are on. I'm going to climb out and put in the cap, and we'll be able to close the doors and fire.
Firing in 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
That was such a delay. It was like kapow.
Jamie always says the simplest rigs are the most effective. And once again, he's proved the point.
Oh, Jamie. If you and I had hired a sculptor, we couldn't have asked him to do a better proving of plausibility than that.
Yeah, that's pretty elegant.
It does not get any better than that. Dude, that is fusion.
There's no doubt that these 2 lethal chunks of lead have hit and fused. The high-speed camera can't clearly show the melting moment, but so what?
Oh, you can't see it. It's already gone. Oh, well. I thought the evidence would be on the high speed, but no! We have physical evidence. Who cares about the high speed today? Not me.
When you think about what's required to make this happen in real life, I mean, it's a freak accident.
I am so happy about this. This is one of the most beautiful objects we have yet made on the show because of how unexpected it is.
I would have to call this one plausible. However unlikely, it is in fact plausible.
All right, it's time to call it. First one up, mystery of the backwards bullet. What do we say?
That would be confirmed. It is possible to fire a bullet down the cylinder of another gun.
The fused bullets from the Civil War.
Plausible. It worked.
And sniper scope.
Oh, we kind of have to say busted, I think. I mean, as much as I don't want to make a bunch of snipers angry.
No, I don't either. It's busted.
We couldn't make it happen.
No.